Welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for sticking with me through that break. If you are just tuning in, we talked about March Madness, the Final Four being set in our first segment. We talked about the matchups upcoming this weekend, what I expect to happen, as well as a recap of all of their runs to get to where they are right now. In our second segment, we talked a little bit about Joel Embiid, his situation with the Sixers, everything that kind of revolves around it, when he should come back and when he might come back, with the report saying that he is on his way back soon with only 7 games to go in the regular season. Coming up here in this segment, we are going to do our second mock draft, Jeremy Lapidus' mock draft 2.0. That is coming up in just a second, but before we get into that, remember that if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net, leave a tip or donation with a message. It'll pop up on the bottom of the screen. We'll have a little discussion about what you had to say for you, me, everybody watching around the world to see. We appreciate anything and everything and anything that you guys do give. Once again, that link to leave a tip or donation is gsmcpodcast.net. But like I was saying, we're going to get into the mock draft 2.0. The first mock draft we did was right around Combine time, NFL Combine time. This was before free agency started. We're going to go over a couple of the main differences that I had between mock draft 1.0 and mock draft 2.0. If you have a team that you'd like me to go through in depth about why I chose them to pick that player, let me know in the comments. I'll be keeping an eye on that. But like I was saying, we're just going to start at the top, we'll go through their top 10 in mock draft 2.0, any other standouts, and then if you guys have any team that you'd like me to break down, I will do that for you. So mock draft 2.0 starts off very similar to the way that we had mock draft 1.0 go. Caleb Williams going number 1 overall to the Bears. That is a lock now that Justin Fields is gone. They have really built up the wide receiver core there in Chicago. Adding Caleb Williams there is going to be huge for that offense. He is the guy that can change a franchise. The Bears haven't had a real quarterback ever. Their best quarterback ever is probably Jay Cutler. And that's no shade on Jay Cutler, but he's not the one that you want as your best quarterback in franchise history, especially a franchise that is as old and as historically good as the Bears have been, for as long as they've been as well. 2.0, second pick, again, the Commanders are going to do something crazy. There's rumors of them going out and drafting J.J. McCarthy. I think that's just smoke to get a team like the Broncos to try and trade up. Or maybe the Vikings, although it wouldn't make a lot of sense for them to trade out of 2. Trying to just throw a little smoke screen out there, see if they can get anything that's really worth it. I do have them taking Jaden Daniels. I have them taking Jaden Daniels at 2. He is closer in play style to Kyler Murray, which we all know Cliff Kingsbury got rid of a quarterback so we could use that kind of play style. Interesting choice. I don't mind the decision taking it over Drake May. That's the player that I have them taking there. Just it would fit the scheme, and all the reports I've been hearing is they want to run that Cliff Kingsbury offense. Maybe get something exciting in Washington. Pick 3, also going to stay in the quarterback position. The New England Patriots, I have taking Drake May. There's some rumblings that they might trade out of this pick. Bunch of teams that are looking at drafting a quarterback or targeting that number 3 pick as a place that they might trade. The Patriots might say, I want to keep Jacoby Brissett and grab a wide receiver. I don't think any of that's going to happen. I have them taking Drake May. He's a guy that might go number 1 overall in a lot of other NFL drafts. You take it to last year's draft, he probably would have gone number 1 overall. He's a really good quarterback. He really is. I kind of fell into the bias in the beginning of he's a quarterback from North Carolina, and it gave me Mitch Trubisky vibes, very scared of it. But then I went and go watch his tape, and he's a lot different. He's very, very good. He has the arm to make any throw. He's going to be a very good quarterback in the NFL. Drake May is. And then at 4, if Marvin Harrison gets past the Cardinals, they're doing something wrong. The Cardinals need a wide receiver. They need a wide receiver. They don't really have a star receiver. They traded Marquise Brown, who was their wide receiver 1 last year, and now they've got basically no one. Marvin Harrison Jr. is probably the best player in this draft, or the most likely player to succeed, I will say. Caleb Williams is probably better, but there's a chance that he isn't everything he lives up to be. Marvin Harrison Jr., I think, is going to be the guy that I feel most certain in being successful. And pairing him with Kyler Murray, you saw how good Kyler was when he had that elite receiver, when he had DeAndre Hopkins, when he had these weapons. But all these weapons are gone now. And the Cardinals are going to try and make a push, but Marvin Harrison Jr. is not getting past them. I have heard stuff saying they might trade. We're not doing any trades in our mock draft. The first major change between mock draft 1 and 2 comes at spot 5, though. And this happens because, well, the Chargers had 2 wide receivers when I made mock draft number 1. They had Keenan Allen, they had Mike Williams. Now they have no wide receivers. Josh Palmer is a respectable receiver, but he's not wide receiver 1 material. He's not that guy that you say, okay, go get it, Josh Palmer, you're our guy. Malik Neighbors is that quick twitch, get the ball out fast kind of guy. He is electric with the ball in his hands. I'm very excited to see, because I think at this pick, it's a toss-up between him, Malik Neighbors, and Rome Odunze. Those two, I believe, are going to go 5-6. The Giants taking whichever one the Chargers are not going to take. But the fact of the matter is, it really just comes to personal preference for John Harbaugh. Does he want that fast twitch explosive guy, or does he want the contested ball guy? My personal preference is Rome Odunze, although I do think the Chargers are going to take Malik Neighbors there at the 5th overall pick, with the Giants then taking Rome Odunze at 6. We hit our first offensive lineman at 7, Joe Alt, in what really is a loaded offensive lineman class. If you remember back to that first mock draft I did, I believe I had like 10 offensive linemen. There are a lot of offensive tackles, centers that are going to go in this draft really early. Joe Alt is probably the most complete out of all of them. They're all really good. Like I said, this is an incredible draft for the offensive line. There's some elite inside offensive linemen, some elite tackles out there, some guys that are going to make really good guards. It's very, very exciting to see all that talent at this position. Joe Alt, I have going 7, the first guy off the board in a stacked class at that position. Rounding out the top 10, as we get down to the bottom, Dallas Turner, I have going to the Falcons at 8. They need an edge rusher. They have no pass rush. Their leading pass rusher was a 37-year-old Calais Campbell last season. They already have an elite corner out there in A.J. Terrell. They fixed the offense, theoretically, by going out and getting Kirk Cousins. You have all the weapons there already. Now they just need a pass rush. You win in the trenches. The offensive line is already really solid. You go out and you get Dallas Turner there at 8. I think that's a huge pick. Because they need someone on the defensive line to get pressure there. Dallas Turner is the highest rated in the class. I think he's the safest pick, injury history and success-wise. If you wanted to go for a little more high upside, Liatu Latu is a guy that you might want. He just has a lot of history in the injury department. He was declared unfit to play football before transferring and then being allowed to play again. And now he's going to go in the first round most likely. So just something to think about there, some risk-reward type stuff. Pick 9, the Bears go again. We talked about them getting Caleb Williams already. They brought in Keenan Allen, but I think they're going to go get another weapon. Brock Bowers is listed at tight end, and I know the Bears have Cole Kmet, who is a really solid tight end. But what Brock Bowers can do, stretching the field, maybe you come out in two tight end sets. You have DJ Moore and Keenan Allen along with Brock Bowers and Cole Kmet, or you just move Brock Bowers to like a wide receiver position. He can run all the routes. He's explosive. I think him in that Bears offense with Caleb Williams now there, it's going to be really, really fun to watch. Brock Bowers is going to be electric in the NFL. He's so tough to guard that it's going to be really, really, it's going to be tough to find his fit. But the Bears, they just need weapons right now. And if I had to classify Brock Bowers at any position, it would be a weapon. So they do have Cole Kmet, and I understand the two tight end stuff, but he can play a hybrid tight end wide receiver role. You can have both of those guys out on the field. I have him going number 9 to the Chicago Bears. And rounding out that top 10, my final pick, the Jets, they have rebuilt most of their offensive line, but they need depth. I'm taking Oluwaya Fashanu out of Penn State, the big tackle. He's going to be very physical in the run game, and it never hurts to have more guys like that. They might have rebuilt most of that offensive line, but they still have some injuries. Elijah Vera Tucker is gone. I think this is the right pick for them. Some other interesting picks here. I know a lot of buzz has the Vikings drafting J.J. McCarthy. I just don't see it. Again, I am not a fan of J.J. McCarthy. I don't think he gets past the Broncos at 12, but the Vikings might take him there at 11, or they might trade up to get him. Again, I didn't do any trades when I made my mock. But J.J. McCarthy goes 12 to the Broncos, and I have the Vikings taking Liatu Latu at 11. The run on corners kind of starts in that 13 to 17 range. Teron Arnold goes first. Nate Wiggins after his explosive 40 time, and Kenyon Mitchell to the Jaguars. I don't think they can pass that up. The Rams are looking to replace Aaron Donald. I have them taking Jerzon Newton. He's going to be hopefully a monster inside. It's going to be almost impossible to replace that production from Aaron Donald, but they need to be able to try and do that. So getting a big guy like Johnny Newton there to eat up blocks in the middle, eat up space. It's going to be big. And the last thing that I want to highlight here on my mock draft, and I'll post this as well on Twitter at Jeremy Lapidus, so you can see my entire mock draft. But Jackson Powers Johnson, the center from Oregon, he goes 21 to the Dolphins who just lost their starting center. He's going to be really good. I've only ever heard good things about him. Watching his tape, he doesn't make a lot of mistakes. He is one of the elite prospects, top 10 on a couple people that I've seen big boards. Don't be surprised if he competes if he's a top 5 center in the league next season. He has that kind of upside. So, anyway, that's my mock draft 2.0. If anybody has a player from a team that I did not mention that they would like me to go over real quick, I will be more than happy to do that. Just leave that in the comments. But heading into our fourth and final segment, we are going to go over some races, some playoff races in the NBA and a little bit in the NHL, as both of those seasons are wrapping up. So stick around for that, breaking down playoff races in the two leagues that are winding down. This has been Sports by GSMC Podcast Network. We'll be right back.